I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next we have item 4, discuss possible action on setting long-term goals for Val Verde County. Now, let me read mine and then you guys can add to it or subtract to it. These are my 5 goals. Need economic development on SL 79. That's a long-term goal. We also need to attract more missions to Laughlin Air Force Base so they could use that SL 79. Next one is a animal control facility, if we need one. The 4th one would be streaming the commissioners' meetings live on the internet. And the last one would be the judicial center that we need. Now, you guys are welcome to add to it, whatever.
I would like to see us,
Go ahead.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I'd like to see us look at a bond election for a real sports complex. We have a huge need for football fields, softball fields, baseball fields. We try to hold tournaments and stuff here, and we don't have the facilities to do it. We've held several tournaments this year, but you only got one field in softball to do it. The Pee Wee football has become a huge issue. They don't have practice fields, and then the school charges a whole lot of money for us to use those fields, and so we end up having to hold our final tournaments in bracket because the cost is way out there, and there's only one field, so it takes quite a while to do it. I think we need to look at doing that through a bond election, a venue tax, and several other things. I would also like to see us do a long-range transportation plan to look at the long-range expansion of our thoroughfares around town and into town in order to enhance mobilization. And I agree with you, Judge, we need a judicial center. We've needed one for a long, long time. Those are some of the things that I'd like to see us work on over the next several years. Maybe we can bring in a financial advisor to look at options on how we finance and fund these different projects over time.
Just to add to it, Commissioner, I think that I have to applaud the county because we're the only entity that doesn't charge the kids to use the sports complexes that we have. But I applaud you guys for doing that.
I think it's ridiculous. School charges us for the North Heights. It's almost $1,300 a year. We wanted to hold the championship at the Rams Field for the final ones, and it was almost $4 grand. And, I mean, this is something for the children that go to school there that are ultimately going to be Rams football players, and I think it's just completely ridiculous what they're doing. The city charges $10 an hour for the use of their fields with lights. We don't seem to be promoting the youth as much as I think we should promote the youth and the activities of the youth. So I think it's something we need to work on.
And to add to that, Commissioner, if I may, it's a shame that we have to go play in Kenny County when we should be doing the things here. We're a lot better than that, and allow kids to go down there and play their games in Kenny County. Anybody else want to add? Commissioner Flores, want to add? Any other goals that you need, Commissioner? Add to those?
No, I agree with the goals
Okay.
Mr. Nelson brought up.
I do too. On the to expand a little bit on that on the parks, I'd like it geared towards youth. Adults have their softball fields already. We've got a baseball field for adults, so and divided into softball and little league, Babe Ruth size, really good size field, and then have soccer fields also, plus a football field, and in addition have practice fields around this designated specifically for youth only.
Judge, the sports complex and all that, I mean, all of them are really good ideas. My concern would be right now is, you know, if we set up a plan for that, but what could we do sort of short term? I think I visited with Commissioner Nettleton and the other commissioners, maybe doing something there at the fairgrounds. When you come in the gate to the left-hand side, there's enough area there maybe to put up a football field, a couple of baseball fields, and then maybe some like U10 soccer fields. I think at some point, probably over the next couple of months, we're probably going to do a tax note or something maybe for our precincts and then for the county to check and see what the needs are within the county. These fields right now, this could actually be done, I think now with maybe a couple $150,000. We could do this now. The other thing, I know that it's been something that hasn't happened, but the animal control I think needs to happen. I think that is something that within this next tax note, if we go to do it, the facility could actually be built. We have property in precinct 4, and we have property within precinct 2. We have 5 acres on Tierra Blanca, and we'll look in to see if it would be legal for the county to end up with that piece of property. But those would be 2 areas that I think we could actually build a facility and get that done. The judge brought up economic development plan. We sat in a meeting on Friday, I think, Judge, on Friday, and Jesus Chuy Ramon brought in an individual that had helped with some of their planning. I think it's something that maybe we need to visit with this individual and have her come back to the court just for ideas of what we could do. She would like to put, you know, she talked about having somebody come in from outside, because I mean, we sit here and we throw around ideas and it seems like it's the same stuff over and over again. Maybe bring somebody from out of town to come in and tell us, well, look, this is probably the path you need to take, and actually give us direction. You know, we try to pull from our own resources here to get the ideas, but this lady here was actually, I mean, she was pretty good. I mean, they were simple, but just made a lot of sense. I think we need to bring somebody like that in order to set up an economic plan. Commissioner Nettleton, I think you and Ramiro, well, I don't think y'all have been here the longest, and I think y'all have maybe set up, is it a railroad?
Mm-hmm. We created a work rail district. It's been a long time ago that we created a rail district.
Well, I think we need to look at that, and the reason, if we were to look at maybe looking at, or if we were to look at doing the railroad spur, and I'm not saying just jump right out in the middle of it, but if we have a rail district and get this formed, or make sure that it's formed, and then go back and look at maybe looking at the railroad spur, and I think most of that sits within precinct 3. But the previous court, before myself and Commissioner Flores got here, I mean, y'all had done the SL-79. I think the plan was to go to the 2nd International Bridge. Talks that we've had with individuals that are looking at that were looking at doing the railroad spur, it would be a, Jesus, there was talks between a $6 and a $12 million investment, but they actually thought that the investment it would be paid back within 3 to 4 years. I mean, that might be something that if we look at this could pay for everything else. You know, versus jumping off. I mean, let's do the plan for the sports complex. Let's do the plan for the judicial center. Let's do all that. But at the end of the day, we might have, you know, a goose that lays a golden egg sitting out there that could help pay for all this. In reference to the judicial center, we had talked with individuals about just having plans done to get an idea of what it would cost. And I think the lowest individual at one of the seminars that we went to in Austin was like 6%. And if we're looking at their cost, Jesus, we could spend $500,000 on a set of plans. So I mean, to me, I think what we need to do is probably get with the judges and go see what is it they have. Go to the federal courts, the district courts, federal courts. And I was looking at some of the plans this morning. I mean, it says district court, and I measured the square footage. The court with the jury and the seating and everything was about 2,700 square feet. And then the judge's chamber was somewhere around 1,500 square feet. So I think if we were to sort of put something together, and maybe get one of our local individuals here to draw our plans for us, set aside some money to get the plans drawn before we jump off again and get an engineer to do it, that way we know what it's going to cost and I know what it's going to cost.
We already have had some plans drawn up or something like that.
Do we know where they're
They should be somewhere in the judge's office. I don't know if you recall.
Yeah, we had a set of plans drawn up for a building that was actually going to be across the street, but
Yeah.
I don't remember where the actual, they should exist around here somewhere. It was some preliminary stuff.
The design build type thing.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just to add to your comment, I was going to ask the court, because I've been dealing, and he's very supportive of the county. Ivan Jaime, he works for Union Pacific, and I think at one time I asked him to look into see if we could lease the land on Gibbs Street where they used to sell used cars there. People would just go park cars there. It's right across the city animal facility, but maybe lease that for $1 a year for 100 years. And I think nobody opposes to using that land for animal control. Probably talk to him, see if we could lease that land for the animal control on that. And I mean, that would be a good thing on the sports complex. I'm embarrassed to say, as a former coach, I didn't think about that one either. So, you know, I'm all for that one too. So,
My only issue is I agree we need to do something on animal control. It just seems to me to be, you're talking about spending probably $100,000 a year to operate one of these facilities. It seems to me we should be in a position to make a deal with the city. They already have one. It's sad that we can't get there. My other issue is we're asking all the taxpayers of this county to pay for an animal control when 90% of the taxpayers that will be picking up the tab for this already pay for animal control inside the city limits. There has to be a mechanism, in my opinion, that allows us the ability to assess a fee or a charge outside the city limits to pay for this. We have one of the best animal control orders in the state. We need to enforce it. It has revenue mechanisms in there. It's difficult for me to go out and say, let's spend this kind of money when we're taxing people that are already paying for a service, when we could combine the services into something that would work better for everybody. I know we haven't been able to accomplish that task. The city hasn't been willing to do that. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. But, you know, if we could come up with a mechanism where we could charge an extra fee on the garbage rates outside the city or the water rates or whatever to fund that animal control, I would be a lot more comfortable with it. I see the need for it. I don't disagree with the need. What I have a problem with is the funding for it and how we come up with a mechanism to fund that department. That's my only biggest issue that I've had with it for a long time, is how to put that together.
The city, we've gone down there on several occasions just to visit the towns, and they're full. I mean, I don't think with what they have, you know, at no fault of their own, they could actually help us. I mean, and the problem is ours. And if we go by your reasoning, Commissioner, we charge 90% of the people a tax that they don't get any benefit from our paving or anything else. You know, to me, I think it's our problem. I think we need to just do it. I mean, we did the firefighters. They came back. Evidently, we hadn't thought it through enough, but we needed another $10,500. We did it. We spent the most money in raises that I think we've ever spent, either dollar amount or percentage. You know, there has to be a way to get it done. And you know, I'm going to disagree with you that you know, the city, it's our problem. And we have to figure out a way to get it done.
I think Mike wanted to comment. Go ahead, Mike.
I think he hit pretty much close on it. Commissioner Owens did. Our problem is they're always full. We've tried to get the city to help us out on a few of them. The most recent one was about 2 weeks ago. We have a dog bite bit a little boy. That dog, I think, is still at Dr. Rathke's at $20 a day. And we have to keep it there, I think we're closing in on it before they can give it back or destroy the dog. I think it's a stray. Every time we call the city to help us out, they're full. And then they will tell us, if we try to get them to come out into the county, that it's not in the city, they won't do anything with it. So we're stuck. We've actually had deputies put the dogs in the back of the patrol cars, haul them down. We've had to taken them there and then taken them to Rathke's and I think Dr. Martin. It's going to be an ongoing deal.
Well, I don't disagree, it's an ongoing deal. It's a very expensive endeavor.
I would,
And that's something we have to realize, if, talking about all these is well and good, but we also have to realize we're going to have to bite the bullet and raise the taxes. We haven't had a tax raise in, what, 15 years or so? So that's something we're going to have to take into consideration, and we're going to have to do it. Not only for wish lists for parks and buildings and so on, but also for our employees. We still have employees earning $19,000 a year, and we need to start or continue what we've started as far as adjusting salaries for our employees. Our sheriff's office is still not where they need to be, especially for recruitment, and that also needs to be looked at. So it's not just about buildings and parks, but also taking care of the people that make everything happen.
well, I don't know, I think we've tried our best, and it seems like at the end of it, the results are good. I mean, we have money. So, I mean, I think what we're doing as a court is working. But at the end of the day, what you just said, Commissioner, I mean, if we put a plan together and we need, after we get everything done and we need more money, then that's what needs to happen. I mean, I think though before we say we're going to raise taxes, we do like what y'all have been doing before we got here, doing what we've been doing while we've been here is, you know, we've been good stewards of the money, of the funds. I mean, you look at the money that we have, our balances. I mean, we've been, I really believe that y'all did a good job before we got here. We're doing a good job, and when we leave, hopefully we'll leave in better shape than when we got here. But I think our constituents wouldn't mind if they saw that, you know, this is the money we have, we've done our best, we need extra funds, and this is specific where that fund is going to go. I don't think they'd have an issue with it. If it's specific for projects versus just we need a tax rate increase and we really don't know what we're doing. I think both Commissioner Nettleton, Ramon, and the rest of the court, you know, with this meeting will get us there to where we actually understand, you know, these are our needs, and at the end of it, if we need to raise taxes next go round, that's just part of it.
Or go with, as Bo said, with a bond election.
Yeah.
I believe this court's venue taxes, bond elections is the way. The voters need to make that decision. I think we need it, but I think at the end of the day, the voters need to decide if they want to raise their taxes to build sport complex.
Right. And we still have not even mentioned the international bridge.
Yep.
What are we going to do with that? Are we going to continue? The city seems to be going off on their own. Are we going to bring that, let them do their thing and ask for our money back for that study that supposedly we were supposed to be involved in?
I would like if y'all would let me maybe bring back a cost for our short term would be like for the football fields, the baseball fields, and the soccer fields right there at the beginning of the fairgrounds, and then maybe bring back a cost for also an animal control facility and bring a cost of what that would be not only for the building but actually, like what y'all have brought up, something to run it per year, because that's going to be it's going to be yearly cost.
Are you going to make them lighted fields so they can use them at night? Are you gonna have one central concession area?
What I can do is,
One area for all of them?
what I can do is if y'all will let me, I will spend probably $800, $900 out of parks to go ahead and get somebody to lay us out some fields. I think Mr. Canales with the city, I think he might be able to do it for us. Actually measure the property, lay it out, and he'd actually done it for the park, the one that the city's asking for a grant on. And I don't think it'd cost that.
And that's fine, but what are we gonna include?
Well, when I laid it out, I mean, I figured to put the football field up in front. And when you're asking for concessions, if we can lay the fields out, then our concession area and our restroom will be based where we're gonna lay the fields. But we have to have restroom facilities, and yes, we have to have concession stands. The lighted park, I think that's gonna be the most expensive endeavor. It might be something that if we get to where, look, we've drawn it out, this is it, this is the cost, we're willing to do this, maybe we can do what the city did, go out and ask for, to partner with individuals and businesses from outside, and ask them to help us, you know, and you know, we're not gonna go at Rotary and go to everybody else for the 30 and 40, whatever, I mean, you know, but $1,000, $2,000, $3,000, you know, that'll add up. You know, I know that, and these businesses get hit by everybody, but, you know, I think, again, if you tell them, this is specific, this is what it's gonna do, this is what we're putting up right now as a county, can you help us? I think there's businesses out there that would help us. I know that a couple of the banks have expressed interest that they would, you know, if we just get them a little plaque or put up a sign that they donated, not to put out the dollar amount, but that they're part of this.
There's quite a bit of funding right now through Texas Parks and Wildlife for these types of projects. They refunded all that in the last session. So there's quite a few grants available for these types. They're designed strictly for this project, these types of projects.
And Mr. Esser had put that item on the agenda last week. Part of his deal was that when we go to apply for the big money, you spend a lot of money for a study. And like I told him, there the 25 and the 50s and 75s that we don't have to go out and spend up $80,000 for a study. And he said that, yes, there is, like you said. There is monies out there.
Small amount.
Mm-hmm.
And if you remember when we met with Ms. Garcia from, Ms. Garcia was economic developer for McAllen area. And if you go down to the valley, McAllen is really growing leaps and bounds. And she's part of this economic development. And she also said there was a lot of grants for a lot of these things and she would help us out. I would like the court to at least listen to her. It's not going to cost us anything to listen to her. She made a very good presentation with some Chamber of Commerce, the city, the county, some private investors on Friday. I was very impressed with her. I think we should at least invite her to come talk to the court and see how she can help us in all these endeavors that we want to do, besides what you want to do on the side.
She ended up a company that had just built the building, $20-some-odd million building. Furnished it or put equipment in it for another $20-some-odd million. And they needed money in order to be able to run it. So the company got a loan from the federal government at 1.5%. I mean, I won't say the company, but it was ridiculous. I mean, you know, and what she said was there's a lot of money out there. If nothing else, at a lower interest rate at 1.5%. Y'all look at it. I mean, it was unreal what she brought to the table. And her comments were really had a lot of insight.
HEB also has foundation money.
Right.
All you gotta do is ask, and I'm sure Walmart does too, and other companies.
I'd like to see us bring in our financial advisor to look at different funding mechanisms for different types of projects. There's a lot of stuff available to counties on how to fund these types of projects. And at some point, maybe he can come in and do a presentation on different options, what we have available to us, on how to look at different funding depending upon what types of projects and what types of things you want to do.
All right. Go ahead, Ms. Pettis.
If I may,
Sure.
a couple of questions and some reactions and comments. I think one of your ideas, Judge Valdez, was streaming the Commissioners Court live. If I may add, it's a suggestion that the Commissioners Court meeting be moved to an evening time slot And then a question on the judicial center, would that just be for the different courts that we already have? And it'd be just one central location?
The,
Okay.
the one that we looked at, and I think Commissioner Lamoille and Commissioner Nettleton were here before I was, and then while we've been here, I think the talk has been the 83rd, 63rd court, the county court at law judge, and then the JPs and your district attorney and your district clerk. That would be areas, and then in the process, I think the sheriff's office had said that they would like a satellite office there also. And then you'd have to have room for your prisoners and then your counselors in order to meet with the witnesses and with the defendants.
Well, one of the issues that the Board of Session will be working on in a very, very near future, and we've talked with the both district judges already, and they're on board with this, is the need for the county to have a public defender's office. Thank you. And so we've already reached out to Austin. They say that they have grants available. They are willing to come down and give a presentation as to what those grants look like. From what they told me a couple of months ago, it'll work like it did previously, where it was 80-20 and then 60-40. All the county has to do is apply for it. So if the idea is to have a judicial center, maybe if this is possible, the public defender's office is to get it somewhere in there as well, just to expedite the whole system. On the animal control, I think that it's been well established over many, many, many years that there is definitely a need for that. We would love to see the city and the county review, Commissioner Nettleton, to work together. We do have an animal problem here as well inside the city, which, you know, precincts are part of the city. And as is evident when they call down to the animal control and it's full. So whether it be with the city, without the city, it just needs to be done extremely quickly on the animal control. I know it takes money, and Commissioner Ramon has a good point that, you know, money makes the world go round, and we hadn't had a tax increase in a long time, although our appraisal values has gone up. That's in a sense a tax increase. Also on the issue of the sports complex. So over the years, the Board of Education has worked with the school district, and it took us several years, but we got it done, where the school is opening, the district is opening some of the gyms free of charge for the Boys and Girls Club to do their basketball program. That's where they practice, and they're not charged. And at one point, Commissioner Nettleton, I don't remember the superintendent's name, but he was interim, and he okayed for the Ram Stadium to be used for the championship game. I think you have a superintendent right now that's very much open to the idea of partnering up, either be with the city or the county when it comes to the youth. I think it doesn't hurt anything for short term just to ask, while just to hold the fort down, can we use these fields free of charge while the plan, Commissioner Owens with the fairgrounds, and then that bond election for the sports complex. I think there's a lot of opportunities here to work both with the city and the school district to get a lot of these things done. But just to let you know that we will be moving and working on the public defender's office. I think that's first and foremost, and the animal control. And I think, I was told by a leader out in Val Verde that Park Estates that there was a house that burned down. What they're asking for is it possible to have some sort of fire station out there to get to possible fires out there. I think, I was told that was burned to the ground.
It's not the one on Dennis or Jeffrey, something like that.
It was last week.
We have a fire station, don't we?
We have a fire station. The court, Sandra, as a matter of fact, the new truck that was bought, that the court bought, was actually because the truck that we had on PC2 was not functioning. And when Mr. Russ brought that to our attention, the courts went out and we purchased another truck and brought it in actually from Minnesota. But we bought another pumper truck to help Mr. Rust. I think the court, well, I don't think, the court is actually, I mean, with the 3 people that we hired, that was one of the reasons that we set up the positions to hire 3 full-time firemen, was because the issue that Mr. Rust has is during the day it's real hard for the volunteers to get off and then also have to drive somewhere to get in a truck and then take off.
Right.
So the 3 full-time firemen hopefully will alleviate some of that problem. That we've got somebody that can actually get the equipment there before the volunteers have to go pick up the equipment and then take it to the site. Last meeting, with the 3 positions, there was an issue because of people that we didn't have anybody applying. One of the reasons was because they weren't already trained. They've got some training, but not everything that we put in the packet. So we set aside $10,500 for training for the 3 of them, $3,500 a piece. So I think, I mean, we're doing everything we can to work towards actually having something.
And the big step was buying that fire truck. Anyway, so yeah, and the other thing was, of course, to move that Commissioners Court meeting to the evening.
Getting back to your estimate on the parks,
Yes, sir.
you mentioned the football field. What else what other fields are you going to?
There was 1 football field, 2 baseball fields, and 2 U10 soccer fields.
Okay, what kind of baseball field?
The baseball fields would be for the Little League.
So, 1 Little League and 1 baseball, 1 softball, or?
Well, it would be both. We could do 1 and 1 because of the sand.
What you can do, and here's an idea, you could build a softball field for adult, or for high school kids, and then have a temporary fence that you could install to make it a baseball field too.
The problem is that we had, I think, what, 4 Babe Ruth teams or something. It was really low, and we have a lot of Little League teams. To me, I mean, I think we need to cater more for the Little League or the softball. One of the plans, or one of the things that was brought up by the individuals that are doing the softball, was that if we could use Field 4, which known as the Alcoa Field, out at the sports complex that we have now, and turn it into a softball field and bring the fence in and everything. And I told them that I would get with y'all. I didn't think it'd be a problem. Move the fence in, and then versus we'd have 2 baseball fields and then 2 regulation size softball fields. That is something that I think would need to be done now.
There's a big need in softball. We had 1 tournament, the Midnight Madness, brought in a lot of teams from all over the state. We even had teams from New Mexico come in. They bring a lot of business to Del Rio. It would be nice to have dual fields to be able to run games simultaneously. I don't know what it takes to convert that.
It wouldn't take that much. I mean, it'd be a matter of just buying some new fencing. The sprinkler system's already there, and then new sand. One of the things that the Little League has asked this year is that if we could raise the infields up, that way they drain off a little bit better. Right now, we're having issues, and we'll need to look at whatever else we go do with the elevations of the fields. The soccer fields, the rains that we had, we probably had half of the fields that even Saturday and Sunday still had a lot of water on them. The Parks Department, I mean, they did a good job of trying to prepare them, along with Mr. Crawford, in moving goals back to the back. That way we could use one of the big fields for U10. But they actually dug holes, set pumps, and tried to drain the water off. But when the ditches, with the rain we had and with the irrigation ditch running, our fields are lower than the water in the ditch. So it's real hard to keep that water from penetrating. We thought we had a water leak, and the city was kind enough to give us some tablets to figure out if the water that was coming in was either had chlorine in it or didn't have chlorine in it. And when it was tested, the water that was coming into the ditch did not have chlorine in it. So it's penetrating from the irrigation ditch and the rainwater.
We should still have some funding left in that tax note for the sports complex.
$76,000.
We could utilize some of that for planning and stuff like that, and some of these other improvements.
Well, if we go to do the parking lot and do the nets and the trees, they're wanting some trees put out on the soccer field, and they're wanting some little roofs for the parents and the kids to get up underneath. If we do that, Little League has asked if we would do the netting behind home plate, because the ball has a tendency to, with the way the fence is, just to come over. If we can do that and then put an area between some of the fields where they could actually practice, or the pitcher can go out and warm up without fear of getting hit by a ball. Do that, and then the kids too, sir.
They want a bullpen?
Like a bullpen, yes, sir. And then they would like, and it's just a matter of putting the netting, and then an area maybe where the kids could go play without them getting hit. If we do, and the parking lot needs to be repaved, I think that's $76,000. It's going to be gone down and be used down there. Well, I don't know the numbers together. Yeah, it's gone.
Okay. Do you need a motion to allow you to go do
I would, no, I mean, I'm just going to bring it back if there's no objection.
just bring it back and see. Okay. Anything else?
The other, do we need to have, I mean, part of our plan, I guess it might be far-fetched a little bit, but I mean, this tax note or whatever we would do for our precincts and then for the county, when will we have something for that, a plan or something, or a meeting for that?
I will be comfortable once we get a treasurer's report and figure out if we got any money. So the sooner the better.
Okay.
Maybe we can talk about the tax note and bring in a financial advisor sometime later this month or first of next month, no?
Yeah. Sounds good.
You'll have a report by then, right?
Well, according to this letter, we should have one by Wednesday. No later than Wednesday.
Okay, well, we're still on the go. So anything else? All right, thank you. All right, next we have the treasurer report. Go ahead.
Good morning, Judge. Good morning, Commissioners. As I just mentioned to you all, I gave each and every one of you a copy of an email this morning from Crystal Collins, the project manager for the implementation of our new system. We worked diligently last week to get the report done. We encountered some problems, some issues, and as you read in this letter and where I highlighted, she expects that we will have this wrapped up no later than Wednesday.
Judge?
Go ahead.
Aaron, and I don't know, I mean, without just completely coming unhinged here, but it's their job to teach you how to use the system, is that right?
And there, well,
I mean, they're supposed to provide the expertise in order how to enter the items. But we've got them entering the items.
they're entering the conversion package items that have happened still from July. That's where we're having the biggest issue.
I understand that, but I mean, it's your job to do it.
We are entering the items. They're helping us guide. They're helping us guide entering these items. As far as what you read on the bottom, they're doing that for us from the conversion time. From August up until now, we're entering those items. We're entering the proper items that we're supposed to.
It's your job, though. And we don't have anything, right? It's your job.
Yes.
It's not my job, and it's not done. My question is, in the statute, it says that we shall have a treasury report every month. Is that right?
That's correct.
I don't have one. That's not right. You know, I don't care whose fault it was. I really don't care. If we knew there was a problem in July, should have got done. You know, and I don't know how the rest of them feel, but it's really frustrating for me to be up here and not have anything. It's your job. You know, I don't know what legal, what do we do? What as a court can we do?
Well, actually, you had asked me to do some research, and we're kind of in a gray area. We've had to call tax to see, there's nothing on, like,
So we just sit, wait.
oh, it's a failure to do your duties, so there are some ramifications, but you asked me what the county could do, and we're waiting to see what that response is.
I mean, I don't want us up here to be in jeopardy of us having problems with attorneys or something else because we didn't do something, all right? I just don't, you know, I don't want to put the court in a position that we didn't do something and we should have because of this. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense.
You know, I don't want to just come unwound, but I mean, you've put us in a bad situation, and I know you're trying. But I don't want us to get in trouble for something that we didn't do wrong.
Do we need to bring Tyler in? Speak to the court.
I mean, that's up to y'all. You can,
I mean, I don't know how all this works, so I don't know where the issues are.
my problem with the whole deal is if the bank accounts were reconciled in June and the only problem is July, I could sit on this floor and reconcile that bank statement in less than a day. I mean, it cannot be, it's not Tyler's fault. It can't be Tyler's fault.
I just want to get it fixed. I really just want to get it fixed. I just really want, I want my numbers.
We will have
I just, you know.
Does the court have any authority to go out and hire a accountant to come in and go to?
As you could call it an auditor, you do.
I don't need an audit, I need somebody to
Well,
come
what
in
I'm
and-
saying is you don't have the authority to hire somebody to perform his statutory duties.
But even with what Tyler is saying, he says, yes, this will came to zero, but it's because all the bank statements weren't in. We've got this much amount, but a check has not cleared, and then there was another check that didn't clear, or they were able to trace that was a reason for not being able to balance. One zeroed out, one didn't, and they're just, they're guessing.
I mean, I have bank statements all the time where I have a check doesn't clear, I still balance my check, bank statement. I mean, we can still have a report. It may be this or that off, but, I mean, I don't know where we're at.
I just gotta have something there. We
I
gotta
know.
have something. And we
And-
just
and
can't have the general fund balance.
Frank and I will be working on some journal entries that we need.
We have to have something. And we need to have the general, we need to have the interest and sinking, and a road and bridge. We can't have one, we gotta have more.
We've got 6 accounts.
Okay.
And, yeah, because it's been a week since we were told, yes, you'll have it by Monday. And Greg said that you can sit down and one day have the statement for July. Sit down with him and keep him there all day long until you finish.
Once you get it, are you gonna have the training? Is the training already been provided?
The training has been provided, yes.
In order to be able to put the numbers in?
Everything else is, as I've said before, is done. It's just finishing this July. Once Frank and I work on the journal entries today, we'll be able to complete that bank reconciliation.
But
I mean, when I read through this, I mean, you know, we talk about this here, that this bank statement doesn't balance to zero because there's an outstanding check. That's any account. You know, I have accounts where I close bank statements, I have outstanding, or bank accounts, I have outstanding ones till they clear. I mean, those are just general accounting issues. To clear the debit of $294.95, but that's because the check hasn't cleared. I mean, that's just part of the way it works. I don't see that as a huge issue of not getting a treasurer's report. You just simply have an outstanding check for that amount sitting out there until, I can't understand why somebody didn't cash it, but I don't know what the check's for. I mean, I don't see anything in here that, or at least in this thing that you handed us, that would stop us from getting a treasurer's report, period.
Well, if the numbers don't reconcile in July, they're not gonna reconcile August, September, so, but like Commissioner.
But you're not gonna reconcile it if the check is outstanding. I mean, that check, that account's still gonna show $247 until somebody cashes the check. I don't know what check it is, but I mean, I have accounts like that in my business where somebody didn't cash a check, it's sitting there in the account, I still know what my balance is, I just know that there's a check sitting out there somewhere somebody hasn't cashed. And if they haven't cashed it after a certain point of time, those checks become void. I think we have a 90-day,
60, I think.
60 days. So if it was a July check and it didn't get cashed, that check's voided automatically if I'm in September. I think that's how this system works. We void them in 60 or 90 days. I couldn't remember what it is. So that person can't even cash that check anyway. That's just that's an accounting deal. It's just a matter of,
Even if you were just to put a little footnote or something on the side, you know, this is our treat, this is what we have in the bank, whatever.
You know,
check, I mean, there has to be a way to do it.
the 57 cents you told me about from the hot check fund that's going into the general fund,
I already discussed that, we're working.
but that's not, that doesn't stop a treasury report. It just shows that there's 57 cents out there somewhere that's in the wrong account. I mean, I've sat on this court for 12 years. I have never got a treasurer's report that didn't have some errors in it somewhere with, that we had to go back and move this from this account to that account. I mean, that's just part of how you do business. It is what it is, but it still doesn't stop the ability of the treasurer's report to come to the court and an explanation of, hey, we have these items here that are outstanding because of this, and then we know, okay, we subtract it, it's not a big deal. You know, out of a $4 million fund balance, I'm not going to be too worried about 57 cents. I'm just not going to be worried about it. It's not going to change anything. And when I read through this email that you gave us, I don't see anything in here that makes me believe there's any reason why a treasurer's report is not here with an explanation that there's a $294 check outstanding, there's a 57-cent deal, there, you know, those are just, you're never going to, when you have a fund balance and an accounting system as large as ours, it's never going to balance perfectly every single month. There's always going to be little issues out there. I'm more concerned about the $1 million issues than the 57-cent issue. I'm concerned about the big ticket items. You know, we're talking about tax notes and this and that, and I can tell you right now, if I bring in a financial advisor and we take this to a bonding agency, I can tell you exactly what they're going to tell you. We'll loan you the money, you have a C rating, and it's 6%. That's what they're going to tell us, and we can't borrow money with this. It's a whole lot easier to explain to a bonding agent that we have a 57-cent error than it is to explain to a bonding agent that we just don't have a report, period. I mean, I'm getting very nervous about this whole thing because we have constitutional and statutory obligations that we have to, all of us have to, and it's not getting done, and I agree with Commissioner Owen, it is jeopardizing where this court plans to go. The whole point of this meeting was long-range goals, and we can't meet any of them because we can't go borrow money. I can tell you right now, they will not loan you money with this system we have. They're going to tell you absolutely not going to happen. I went through the deal with the city when they crashed their bond rating. I know how long it took them to get it fixed and the problems. They couldn't borrow money. They couldn't do anything for years to get this problem fixed. It was a nightmare. We're sitting out there with a $77 million bond. We're sitting out there with another $6 million bond. You see communities and financial problems all over the place. These bonding people are looking at every single thing. I haven't read all the bond covenants and all the bond requirements of the bonds we issued, but I can assure you, they're very particular about these things. And I know they call Frank all the time. They want treasurer's reports, they want this, they want that. They want to look at every little bitty thing that's happening in this county. That's just the way they operate. And I don't blame them. If I had $77 million borrowed to somebody, I'd want to know what they're doing too. I see nothing in here that stops us from having a treasurer's report. It may not be 100% balanced, it may be off a few dollars, but it's still a treasurer's report. It still is with a footnote that says these are the discrepancies within the bounds of this treasurer's report. Okay, we can figure that out. I mean, I can get a calculator out and figure out we're off $1,000 and I know where I'm at and life goes on. That's the way I see this.
And just to add to what Commissioner Upton is, I was part of that junk bond status with the city, and I can tell you it's a nightmare. I mean, we had to bring the city from junk bond status to I mean, we had to really, we couldn't even get a PO to go buy something at PJ Lumber. You know, that's how hard it was. But at the same time, Aaron, and you promised us at the last commissioners meeting that by Monday we'd have the report. Now you're saying Wednesday. Now here's my biggest concern. So what happens if Wednesday's not ready? And you said last Tuesday it's going to be ready by Monday. So my question is, so what happens if you don't have it by Wednesday?
By Wednesday, you'll have a report whether
But that's what you told us on Tuesday.
well, if y'all are willing to accept a report that is off balance, then by Wednesday, you'll have a report that's whether it's balanced or off.
Well, it's not really going to be off balance. We'll know that X is missing, and if we add X, well, you're going to end up with Y. So it's not really going to be unbalanced. It's just that you've got some stuff missing. But if you put that in there, if you put those other things together, it will balance. All right?
Just reconciling.
Yeah.
If there's an outstanding check, it just sits there until somebody cashes it. But if we have one that's that far outstanding, we should just void the check and move on. I don't know whose check. Can you tell us who? Can you figure out who it is and find out
But find out by
what the heck's going on?
Checks used to have a notice on them that after 60 days they're void. They still do that, right? So that can be
it isn't a travel expense, is it? Before we start voiding calendars.
Okay, any other questions?
I want to report by the end of the week that if you have to put a footnote that says these are the issues, then that's fine, but we need something by the end of this week.
one report or 3 reports?
Well, we need, you know, the whole thing from whenever we didn't have the last one, which was July, August, September. Yeah.
Any other comment?
Please, thank you.
Thank you.
Some information that's supposed to be sent to us from TDA in Austin, and they were supposed to send it through email. I don't know if Anna's received it yet or not.
Is it something we need to execute today?
No,
No, just
it's part of the negotiation.
the lease.
He said he sent it, but it's not
It's not
a
there.
real document.
We'll table it for next meeting. Motion to table, bring it back next meeting.
Second.
All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nobody, 5-0. And if that's it, this meeting's adjourned.
I've got one item in executive session under leases, if you don't mind.
Okay, then we'll go into executive
It won't
session,
take just a couple minutes.
requesting Texas Government Code 551.072, Texas Government Code 551.071, parentheses 1, parentheses 2. Go ahead, Commissioner Cordes.
Yes, I will make a motion to ratify interlocal cooperation contract between Val Verde County and the Texas Department of Agriculture.
Second.
There's a motion second. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nobody? Aye, anything else? Nothing else, then this meeting's adjourned.